All right. All right, just to confirm with everyone that we're now recording, and we're going to have a case discussion in regards to case study 2, which is Miles, Bob and Kathleen. Do we have anyone that wanted to start off on their particular theories that they wanted to approach this case study?
I can start off. So I initially looked at something like strengths theory, and I didn't feel comfortable with it sitting. Like Miles has got those strengths where he's done the apprenticeship or started the apprenticeship, and he was able to do that. He was enjoying the work, but then the drug use and the drinking became an issue. So I then thought, well, maybe CBT. So I think that will fit better from my view, because we can look at the behaviour and then why he's doing that. Like, has something happened at home? Like, has he been bullied at school? You know, are his parents maybe too strict or, you know, abusive maybe? Has something happened during his childhood that's made him turn to drink? Is it just peer pressure? And then once we can work out from there what the actual problem is, then we can work on, or what the cause of him drinking is, then we can work on changing those behaviours. So say it's just when he's stressed, and he feels like to deal with that stress he needs to drink. So we could say to him, look, every time you pick up a bottle or a can, you know, just think of something positive. So to change that thought.
So you can challenge his thought processes. Is that right?
Yeah.
So can I just ask, Bobby, what organisational context would you be coming from? And I'm hearing that Miles is definitely your client. You've identified him as the person who you would zero in. Is that right? And
yeah.
Okay. And from what organisational context would you be approaching that theory from?
I don't know. I don't know. That was where I was having a little bit of trouble.
But CBT is better for you in helping him identify those negative thoughts that link to.
So maybe a place like Lives Lived Well. So drug and alcohol rehabilitation or counselling. So yeah, where they don't chuck you in rehab, but they try and get to the bottom of the issues.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Bobby. What about you guys? Have you guys thought about what organisational context you would come from? And is Miles your client or mum and dad?
Okay, like me, my key contributor will be Miles. And I'm going to work under a community-based agency that works with family.
Okay.
Like offering services, counseling to families that are going through challenges or relationship issues. Yeah, and I'm going to look at it under social context, which I'm still working on. And I'm going to use psychodynamic theory because I feel like his issues are arising from the past conflict, because this is like a behavior that has been going on. He quit high school and so there must be something that has been going on from before. It's not all about him not working at this stage. It is something that has been going on. And so I feel like I should look at him from his childhood experience. What could be the reason of all this behavior? What could have caused everything? And also, I'm using psychodynamic because it has been proven. I was just looking at some of the case studies. It has been proven to have a good outcome by different authors on issues like the ones affecting Miles, depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. And okay, as I was going through the reading, there's a quote that I saw which was saying, if you've not sought anything from the past, like you've not worked on issues of the past, they will keep recurring. And so like for Miles, it is like a pattern of behavior that are still recurring. And that's why I'm using psychodynamic. Yeah. And so I will do some diagnosis. I will observe like the observation of why he quits job, why he's drinking from high school up to now. So I'm going to look at a psychoanalytic approach. Yes, so that's why I'm using psychodynamic. And also I can look at it at a behavioral, the behavior approach. I look at what is the reason of this behavior. Like I feel when he's saying that his parents are not treating him as an adult, that is a thought that he feels like his issues are arising from the fact that the parents are not treating him as an adult. So I should work on that and make him and change his mind. So, and then I feel like this is not a state of crisis, is a state of stress. I feel like Miles is stressed, and so psychodynamic will work well for me.
And your organizational context was the
community-based agency, yeah.
Where you can do counseling and stuff like that. Is there a period of time frame that the community agency specifies that you work with them? Is it over a long period of time or a short period of time?
It's a short period of time, and that's why in my writing, in my assignment, I have a limitation. I'm not able to look at Miles' structure, the system, because I'm still thinking system can work with him. But because of the time limit from the organization I'm working with, I'll not be able to look at it from the system theory, because I feel also there's an issue with the system, like the school, the family system, and so I'm just working under a short time.
I hear though that psychodynamic theory and approaches can take a period of time to evolve and to get to the root of the problem. So I'm with you. I love the psychodynamic analytical approach, but my fear is it may not fit in with some organisational settings or funding requirements. But I hear that you can see that the fundamental problem is getting to the root of why he's behaving like this, and it comes back to identifying those stresses, not crises, stresses that have led to that. Yeah. Nation, did you want to go or did you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay. Yeah.
In my case, I like to choose psychodynamic theory. And I work in a mental health organization context, which is a long time period. And here as you can see, Milan is a 22-year unemployed man who has the habit of drinking alcohol frequently and substance use. So I would like to go with the psychodynamic theory because the psychodynamic approach focuses on understanding our inner world experience, such as anxieties, motivations, and the influence of experience or childhood experience in our lives today. So, and in this case, the adults' experience are directly related to childhood experience. So that's why the best reason for choosing psychodynamic theory in this Miles case. And here, as you can see, Miles is stating that issue starts between the intent superego. It's a mechanism in order to reduce the anxiety. So in my observation, he is sleeping longer time. It could be interpreted that avoid thinking about issues, and he transferred that anxiety into a new medium of sleeping more. So I think Miles might sleeping as something he can consciously control in order to shut other issues that he's having in his life. And the reason behind choosing psychodynamic theory is there should be an exact reason behind he has an issues with his parents. So I think that there should be a past that can connect with him, and I would like to concentrate on that. I mean, what the reason behind it, what the exact reason behind the quarrels between his issues with parents. And thing is, he's like to be isolated. So I would like to concentrate on that area too. What made him to be isolated, And what is the exact reason behind his depression? It said that he's stressed and depressed. So there should be a reason behind it. So if I choose psychodynamic theory and psychoanalytical approach, I can concentrate on all his past, and I can easily connect with all those things.
Okay. And so you've identified as well with Bobby and Rose that you think Miles is the client in this situation, and that's who you with solely?
Miles is the client.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and really interesting. All right. Do you guys have any questions for Nashim?
Because I'm working with psychodynamic, I feel like I'm supporting whatever he's saying.
What about you, Bobby? Because you've said CBT, so which is a branch of psychodynamic. This is behavioural. Oh, can you hear us, Bobby?
You're breaking, Jay.
Oh, can you hear me, Rose and Nashim? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think you can go with your theory.
Okay. Well, I actually looked at the whole family. I felt that I agree that Miles is definitely the centre here, but there were 3 areas of concern that I could see, and that was the family relationship, the drug and alcohol concerns, and also the mental health concerns as well. So there were 3 areas that I broke it down into. Interestingly, it was the parents who were concerned and speaking about his mental health, not Miles. He didn't, from what I read, I interpreted that he didn't really see, he just wanted everyone to leave him alone. So if I was to approach it from a psychoanalytic or a cognitive behaviour therapy approach, I would really need to identify whether he's seen that as a problem. And because it is a behavioural approach, it depends a lot on my relationship therapeutic. I spent a lot of time in therapeutic relationship with him and building that before I could go down those approaches. So my organisational context would be an employment organisation. Often we see families come together for the first appointment, and it is the parent who's doing all the talking, like it is in that case study too, saying what they're concerned about. I noticed that one of the things is that Miles has said they treat me like a child. So I would use a structural approach at first with the underpinnings of a psychoanalytical approach, understanding that perhaps, Erikson looks at his sense of identity leading into adulthood, and so of course his parents aren't assisting him to be an adult. And the best way to approach that is with a systems approach, so that no individual person in the family group feels attacked. And I would use like an eco map. I'll start off with a genogram first, so that people could maybe in the family see the generational difference or expectations on them before I'd move into an eco map, and then see what might be the underlying stresses in regards to those expectations. The drug and alcohol concerns are relative, and it's quite. So the best way I probably would tackle that is probably with a task-centered approach, because it would be up to Miles to identify what he wants to work on. Just because I think he might have a problem with drugs and alcohol, he might not see that as a problem. So it could be employment, which is probably from an organisational context what I would be putting on the table. And if I was to use that task-centered approach, which actually is a shorter intervention and comes from a behavioural approach and psychoanalytical approach, I'd be goal setting with him and addressing those maladaptive behaviours, the binge drinking, the gaming all night, and those sort of things, and look at, is that really helping you to achieve your goal? If his goal is employment, for example, or maybe it is to lower his drinking, it would be up to him, and I'll do that through an empowering approach. So the task-centered approach does fit in with an organisational sector, because it is evidence-based. It is generally, it has short-term outcomes, which is good, but it doesn't really address any long-term or social structures from a social work point of view, which is what we're trying to challenge. So it's really asking him to change his behaviour to fit in with systems and with tasks to achieve those things. So that's probably not social justice principles in the long term, but in the short term it might be helping him. If it was to, I would definitely address the mental health concerns, and of course the cognitive behaviour therapy approach is the main form of treatment for mental health, anger, anxiety, depression, and it is a fact that substance abuse is a major factor in leading or has a high prevalence in mental health outcomes for younger people. So we understand that. But I probably would be, again, I would depend on my organisational structure, but I would be, if he identifies low mood or anger, if that's something that he wants to work on, then I would challenge those maladaptive behaviours by asking him his thought processes as to what leads him to that, leads him to those behaviours. And I would probably, his parents did say mood swings and aggressive outbursts, so through a narrative approach, I would probably explore that a bit further before I could challenge those negative thought patterns. So I know 3 is a bit too much, so that's but that in a real setting, that's how I probably would approach it. I would be careful with the parents, acknowledging that they may feel that they're unseen in the bigger picture, and yet they're quite a contributing factor to his outcomes and his behaviours and his actions even now. So be aware of their grief and loss amongst it all. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Any questions?
Also, how many theories are you using? I've heard you saying about system, CBT, did you say? And then narrative, which other one?
I would use another narrative theory. It would be more of a narrative and empowerment approach. But it's definitely, I see systems theory, task-centered theory, and if cognitive behaviour therapy is probably what I would, if it was ongoing. We had weekly meetings, and it would be just him and I, not with the parents. Yes, but from a family perspective, systems. From a individual perspective, task and CBT. The good thing about all of them is they're all person-centered, so that aligns with social work practices and values. Yeah. But we have to come to an agreement as to what.
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you something?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Miles has a complaint that his parents are not considering him as mature, right? His parents is not considering him as mature guy or as mature. So, how would you handle that area?
Sorry, I'm not understanding the question. His parents have not accepted his position. Yes, yep. So that's when systems theory, I think, would be powerful. And I would explain Erikson's emotional stages of development, and I would look at how, as human beings, we go through these different stages. So I would go right, and that is a psychodynamic approach. So I would look at, infancy and what he needed to develop during that stage before he went to the stage of initiative, inferiority, identity. And now that he's an adult, he needs to establish his own identity. So I would approach it in a systems theory situation, so they didn't feel personally attacked. But you're right, there's elements of psychodynamic learnings underpinning. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Hey.
I'm thinking
that was loud. I'm so sorry.
That's like, welcome, Natalie. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Sorry I'm so late.
That's okay. We're almost at the end of our recording, but I noticed that earlier on they gave us extra time. So
Okay.
if you want, I was the last person to contribute. Did you want to contribute what you've got, and then perhaps we can include it in this recording if it'll let us record?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll go for it. So, and I haven't printed it off or anything, but anyway, so I was going to take new systems and ecological approach with strengths-based, and so that would be seeing the family as a system, and so there's a breakdown within that, not focusing, so using a strengths approach, so not just saying that Miles is the problem, but looking at, so I would speak to the family first together to do sort of, and I don't know how in depth you guys talked, so I'm just sort of going to say whatever. So I would do their genogram, looking at, so we know where we're at with the family, who's there, who, you know, what, and then also talking about strengths within that. And then I would be talking to Miles separately and just seeing, getting his story, seeing, helping him to discuss for his future, that sort of thing. Also doing with him, and then doing with Bob and Kathleen, doing an eco-map. So seeing what other systems they have around them that they're part of, looking at the strengths of those other systems as well, that can help them in working out what, you know, where they want to go from there. Part of looking at Miles' strengths would be talking to him about how, you know, how he feels about his life as it is. If he's not happy, then, you know, a time when he was feeling positive and what that looked like. So then branching off from there, talking to him about study, you know, looking for career advice and all that sort of stuff, and employment or whatever, that sort of thing. And what was I going to say? So basically focusing on the strengths within the family unit, because obviously even if Miles didn't want to be there, he does value the family unit enough that he is there. So even if it wasn't his idea, he's there. So there's value in that. And, you know, so helping to see Bob and Kathleen also, helping them to see the strengths within their family unit, even though they might not see that at the moment with Miles, you know, they're not obviously happy with whatever's happening. Sorry, I had another thought there. Yeah, so then the end goal would be that they would all be able to talk together and see that they do have a lot of strengths going for them as a family unit, and helping, I guess, Bob and Kathleen to see Miles' strengths. Yep. So, that's right, the mental health issue would be that I would be talking to Miles about how he's feeling, not assuming that he does have depression or any other mental health issue, but talk to him about what's going on for him, and looking for strengths in that, not just assuming he needs help, but offering it if he does desire that. I guess that's my summation.
That sounds great.
I don't know, how everyone else sort of.
Well, what I'll do is I'll save this recording. I've never done this before, so I hope I can do this and share it with you. Cool. Can I just clarify? So you see Miles as your client, but you would use the family first. And did I hear you say you also have another setting, a meeting with the family further on down the track?
Yeah, further on down the track. So start with the family unit.
Yeah.
Talk to Bob and Kathleen together or separately, because the thing is that even if they are married, they're going to have different ideas about what's going on, and they both might not feel free to say what they really think when they're together. So I would also, if they sit, I guess it is a bit play it by ear a little bit, because you need to talk to them both, but whether that's separately or together, and talk to Miles, because I see the family as the whole family is the client, but there's different components. They're a system, so there's different components. So different components need different things to work together.
Yep. And so for some of us earlier who've identified as Miles as the sole client, they haven't used a systems approach, whereas I've sort of seen the family as well as something that I would work with. What was your organisational context?
It was a family therapy.
Family therapy. That's why systems works well within that.
Yeah. I took the easy way.
No. From my reading of the subject outline, we need to come up with a plan forward. What is everyone else's thoughts on what approach, and what, hearing everyone else's approach, what influences them? I would just like to start. I really like Natalie's strengths approach. That's something that I probably didn't identify, but something I would like to add in my case.
Cool.
Yeah, and the family as a whole. Anyone else's thoughts?
I like the the strengths approach with the family as well. I guess that's why I was having problems using the strengths approach earlier, because I wasn't looking at the whole family unit, but just as Miles as the client on his own, and sorting his issues out rather than working with the entire family. So I would do that. I would go ahead. Yeah, I'd go along with that, with working with the whole family and working with, each individual of the family and as the family as a unit.
Rose and Nation, what's your reflections and ways forward you'll do differently?
Okay, because from the outline, the theory that we'll come up with here, we will just choose it at the reflective part. Is it right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're not going to change the entire.
No. It's just in the reflective part.
Okay.
Yeah. That you can sort of go, we talked about it, and in the end we decided as a group this is what we would do, but you don't have to change your bit.
No.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just concentrating on Miles alone. I never thought, but I feel like the family, there is an issue with the family, so it's something that I should look at. So probably I can use that in my reflective part and look at the strength approach.
Cool.
Yes, same here, because as I choose psychodynamic theory, I was focusing on Miles as a case, as a person. But I think it's better to focus on the family too, so I would go with strength-based approach.
Yeah, I would still include in my way forward systems theory and task-centered if necessary in my individual sessions with Miles, but I agree as a group, perhaps introducing more of a strengths-based and a family therapy approach or systems ecological approach forward. Sorry.
Yeah, I think bringing task into it would be really good too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I personally would love to spend more time on psychoanalytic theory with this family because I agree with Nation and Rose in regards to, I think, the foundations of the relationship between the family and the connections between the family underpin perhaps a lot of the conflicts that they're experiencing now, but in achieving social justice, perhaps that would be optimally where I'd like to spend time, but within my organisational setting, I'm not sure how achievable that would be.
So from the general contents that we were told to look at, which one are you looking at under what context?
Under what organisational context?
Apart from organisational context, there's the general one she was talking about. So which one are you going to look at?
Just like with the general
social. Sorry?
Is that to me or to Natalie?
Yeah, to Jolene. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I would still prefer to proceed with a systems, ecological approach towards the family, but with a strengths approach, just with a strength underlay and emphasis is what I would focus on going forward.
Okay.
Cool.
Does that answer your?
Yeah. So I think maybe Natalie should talk more about the strength approach with the family, so that we may be able to get something, because from it, how you will apply it, so that when you're writing the reflective, it should be easy for us to get what you.
Oh, what I mean by using the strengths approach.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So with the strengths approach is just about each person is the so everyone has Jolene, please.
If you've got I've said some thoughts that what I probably would do in practice, because the first initial setting would that initial assessment or the initial meeting within the family, you could after that, using the eco maps and the genograms, option could be using actual strength cards and seeing where and having them laid out as a practice tool and saying, okay, what strengths do you actually bring to this family? So that could be one approach to help them identify each other's strengths or their own strengths. Is that something that you would use, Natalie, maybe?
I think that would be a good idea. So I just had a mental blank, the whole thing. But I've been up since 4:30, so I'm a little bit tired. That sort of thing I think would be helpful. I think talking to each person, and I think, particularly Miles, because in this scenario, he's sort of set out as the one that has issues. So I think particularly talking to him and helping him to identify whether that's using strengths cards or just through, talking that, okay, well, what sort of things in his own self, what sort of strengths does he have? So, when he had the apprenticeship, it was going well. So looking at that, okay, so what did he bring to that? What sort of helped him be positive in that situation until it sort of went bad? So looking at, okay, well, this has happened in the past. You were at that place in the past. So, and these are the things you brought to that situation. Well, I wonder, how could we get back there? Building those strengths up. And so strengths cards is really good.
And to say something, when you talk about involving Miles, about asking him about his strength, then I think psychodynamic will be in use still, because before finding, you have to dig into his past. You have to know what has happened for it to be. You see, like psychodynamic will assist him to see his strength, will assist him to know where he went wrong. So you have to bring him back to what it is that he may have lost in the way. So I'm thinking still psychodynamic should be somewhere in this case.
That's okay. I agree. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Rose. Yeah. But sometimes people don't want to look back or all the time. They want to look forward. forward. And what the beauty about the strengths process and task and family systems approach is it's the here and now, and not necessarily focusing on the past. We may not have enough time to deal with the past. We need to focus on the here and now forward. But I think I value the strengths approach within a family setting is identifying each other's value within the family as well. And how to value future connections and future relationships would be of benefit. But I respect and I hear what you're saying, that there's a connection to
because like I am saying in the case study, I feel like Miles does not know about, even if you ask him about his strength, I feel like he's lost. He knows nothing. So you have to take him back for him to be able to say, yeah, I know that people who don't like going back to the past, but I'm feeling like even in this state, according to the case study, it's like you have to take him to the past. It just does not, because the only thing is like my parents should treat me like an adult, you know. That's the only thing he knows, according to how I feel it. So anyway, that's my opinion.
So I guess part of it could be too, when you're talking to his parents, is asking them, okay, so what strengths do you see in Miles, you know, when he was doing these things? And then, you know, so what did they see as strengths that he had? And then taking that to him and going, hey, so, you know, because you're trying to do the family system, so it could be like, hey, Miles, so, you know, your mum and dad, these are things that they find really encouraging and appreciate about you. And so that will help him then also be able to see and identify his own strengths and go, oh, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like that. But, you know, if someone, obviously someone I value sees that within me, then, you know, he's more likely to, you know, be positive and see other strengths that he has.
And sometimes people don't see that things that they're doing is a strength, like getting an apprenticeship. They don't see that as a strength, whereas
exactly.
for some people it can be really hard to get an apprenticeship, but he managed to do it and he was doing well until he started, you know, until he lost his license and was missing days. But he might not see that getting that apprenticeship on its own as a strength. And then sometimes we need to help them identify that and work with that. So even though he lost that apprenticeship, we can still say, but you know what, you got it.
Exactly.
Then put your best face forward, and you know, you got that apprenticeship, you were doing great, and then we can work on what happened. So yeah, I mean, I work with plenty of people that just don't recognize those strengths that they have until you point them out, you know. And it might be something small as, you know what, you went to bed at a decent time last night and got out of bed this morning at a decent time, rather than staying up all night drinking or playing games or whatever it was.
Exactly.
That done before.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay then.
Awesome, Bobby. I just wanted to quickly add, and you've reminded me of something that I've introduced here at our work, is every time a young person comes in and we work with them, I get them to stop and write down in their folder under the envelope what they've learnt today, or what I do use the strength cards a lot, what strengths they bring to to today, not tomorrow, future, past, but today. And so when they come back in each time, they open up their folder and they've got a long list of things that they have identified in their language and in their actual writing of things that they've learnt or done well, or that they can be proud of to go forward. Yeah. Anyone?
So where do we go?
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent like that. So is everyone happy with now our discussion or exploration around Miles, Bob and Kathleen?
Yep.
I'll
have if you record, send it to me and I'll have a listen to everyone else's.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate everyone's different perspectives. And Rose, I really appreciate you standing by what you believe in as well. And how we can nut that out. I love that. That's great. Yeah. Thank you. And it's actually making me think a little bit more about how I'm going to do things a little bit differently going forward. So yeah, really appreciate and respect everyone's contribution. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Jo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, how do I stop?